Have you ever witnessed a moment so shocking, so utterly jaw-dropping, that it made you question everything you thought you knew about Hollywood? Imagine the glittering lights of the 2026 Golden Awards, the red carpet lined with flashing cameras, paparazzi elbowing their way through eager fans, and celebrities gliding by in designer gowns and tailored suits, their smiles perfected for the cameras. You think you know how these nights unfold. Glamour, charm, predictable smiles. But then, something happens that changes the narrative entirely. Something no one expected. Something that would leave Emma Stone, one of Hollywood's most beloved and composed stars, calling security and yelling words nobody thought would ever be uttered on the Golden Awards stage. I don't know you. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Yes, you heard that right. Emma Stone, normally poised, calm, and graceful, suddenly found herself facing a situation that seemed straight out of a Hollywood thriller. And on the other side of that confrontation, Meghan Markle. Yes, Meghan Markle, the former Duchess of Sussex, a woman whose life is constantly under a microscope, who has navigated royal protocol and Hollywood scrutiny with a mixture of elegance and controversy, was at the center of this explosive red carpet showdown. But why was she there? What was she doing at an event where her presence was not just unexpected, but uninvited? And how did a night that should have been about awards, applause, and celebration turn into one of the most shocking celebrity confrontations in recent memory? To understand the full story, we have to rewind. Because the events of that evening didn't just happen spontaneously. There was build-up, tension simmering under the surface, and a series of small moments that, when put together, made what happened inevitable. Imagine the whispers backstage, the quick glances over champagne flutes, the barely audible sighs of other celebrities noticing Meghan's entrance and wondering what she was doing there. And then picture Emma Stone, walking toward the red carpet entrance, ready to greet the night with her signature charm, when she spots a familiar figure moving with a strange mix of confidence and determination through the crowd. Emma freezes. Her smile falters. And in that instant, everything changes. You see, this wasn't just a case of a celebrity showing up uninvited. There's a deeper story here. Rumors had been swirling for weeks leading up to the Golden Awards. Rumors about Meghan's attempts to reconnect with certain Hollywood circles. Rumors about her desire to be seen, to assert influence, to somehow reclaim a narrative that has always been complicated for her. Some insiders even hinted at meetings with producers, whispered deals, and strategically timed appearances. But no one had predicted she would choose the Golden Awards, one of the most photographed nights of the year, as the stage for her latest maneuver. Meanwhile, Emma Stone had her own stakes in the evening. A leading role in a critically acclaimed film, pre-show interviews, and a night she had imagined would be full of recognition and celebration. She didn't need drama. And yet, within minutes of her arrival, the atmosphere shifted. Security teams began noticing unusual movements. Photographers started snapping with a heightened sense of urgency. Fans who had come for autographs suddenly became witnesses to something entirely unexpected. A silent, simmering tension between two of the world's most high-profile women. But let's pause for a second. Because before we get to the red carpet confrontation, there's something crucial to understand about Meghan Markle's presence here. To the outside world, she is a former royal navigating Hollywood with a mixture of fame and infamy. Some see her as a trailblazer, a woman who refused to be confined by royal expectations. Others view her with skepticism, questioning her motives and her relationships in Hollywood. What many don't see is the meticulous calculation behind her public appearances. Every outfit, every smile, every hand wave is choreographed for maximum visibility. And on that night, the Golden Awards, she wasn't just attending. She was executing a move that had layers of intent. Meanwhile, Emma Stone, unaware of the full context, is suddenly faced with someone in her personal space in a way that feels invasive. It's not just a matter of etiquette. It's about boundaries, respect, and the shock of being confronted by someone whose motives are unclear, yet undeniably bold. And in the midst of this, cameras roll. Photographers capture fleeting expressions, Emma's incredulity, Meghan's subtle smile, the tension that crackles like electricity in the air. Social media, which can turn any moment into a viral sensation, waits only for one frame to explode online. And explode it did. Now, imagine being in the middle of this scene. The cameras are flashing, the crowd is buzzing, and security is on high alert. Emma Stone makes a decision, one that will be replayed on every entertainment channel, dissected by journalists, and debated endlessly by fans. She calls for security, her voice steady but unmistakably firm. And then the words echo, cutting through the noise, through the glamorous chaos of the Golden Awards. "I don't know you." A statement that is simple in its phrasing, yet monumental in its impact. It's the red carpet equivalent of a thunderclap. Shockwaves ripple through the crowd. Meghan pauses. The air grows tense. And for a moment, the entire event seems to hang in the balance. This is where the story becomes truly fascinating. Because from that moment forward, nothing about the Golden Awards is predictable. Every movement, every reaction, every glance is charged with heightened stakes. What happens when a former royal and a Hollywood superstar collide in a high-stakes social arena? How do security teams manage the optics of removing someone with global visibility? And what about the whispers behind the cameras? The producers, the co-stars, the agents, who now have to navigate a crisis that no one expected. And let's not forget the audience. For millions watching online, following live streams, or scrolling social media, the scene is electric. Some are outraged. Some are amused. Some are bewildered. But all are hooked, because something about this confrontation is unlike anything they have seen before. It's a collision of fame, power, and personality, played out in real time, with every detail captured, analyzed, and shared. And in a world where celebrity moments are often fleeting, this one has staying power. It will be talked about, dissected, and replayed for weeks to come. But here's the kicker. The story doesn't end with Emma Stone's declaration or Meghan Markle's reaction. There are layers, hidden dynamics, and behind-the-scenes developments that nobody saw coming. Leaked messages, insider commentary, backstage whispers, and surprising interventions all contribute to a night that becomes more than a red carpet event. It becomes a saga. And the public, hungry for drama, eats it up. The media frenzy, the social media storm, and the celebrity commentary amplify each moment, creating a feedback loop of tension, speculation, and shock. So, why should you care about this story? Because it's more than just celebrity gossip. It's a study in boundaries, influence, and power dynamics. It's about what happens when public personas collide with private intentions. It's about the strategies people use to assert themselves in spaces where optics are everything. And it's about a moment so charged with emotion and stakes that it transcends the usual celebrity drama. This isn't just a story about Meghan Markle and Emma Stone. It's a story about visibility, control, and the way public perception can shift in an instant. And as we dive into the events of that night, you're going to see it all unfold. You'll witness the tension on the red carpet, the reactions of security, the whispers among Hollywood elites, and the explosion of social media coverage. You'll see what drove Meghan to make that move, why Emma reacted the way she did, and how a single statement, "I don't know you," became the focal point of a night that will be remembered for years. But what came next would change everything. And no one saw it coming. Have you ever walked into a room and felt every eye on you, even before you opened your mouth? That was exactly what the 2026 Golden Awards red carpet felt like that night. Cameras flashed like strobe lights, reflecting off sequin gowns and perfectly tailored tuxedos. The air smelled of champagne, perfume, and anticipation. Reporters shouted questions that blurred together, and the crowd pressed forward with smartphones raised, ready to capture a single moment that could go viral in seconds. It should have been a scene of celebration, a night of laughter, applause, and recognition. But tension hung heavier than the scent of expensive cologne. Emma Stone arrived first, as she often did, with that casual poise that seems effortless but is anything but. Her heels clicked against the marble floor, the kind of deliberate sound that commands attention without shouting. She smiled at cameras, nodded to reporters, and waved gently at fans. Everything was calculated to seem natural, relaxed, effortless. And yet, beneath that calm exterior, there was a pulse of nerves. Every award night carried stakes, some career-defining, some deeply personal. Emma had worked hard for this moment. She didn't need drama. And she certainly didn't need a surprise visitor who could threaten the order of the night. And then she saw her, Meghan Markle, not strolling casually, not mingling quietly. Meghan moved with an energy that seemed to shift the room's atmosphere. She smiled at people selectively, her eyes scanning, measuring, calculating. There was an unmistakable intensity, a subtle determination in her steps. Some celebrities glanced her way and shrugged, assuming this was another orchestrated public appearance. Others whispered to one another, sensing the undercurrent of tension before they fully understood it. And Emma? Emma froze for just a heartbeat, a pause that was invisible to the cameras but felt like an eternity to her. Imagine being in that moment. The world is watching. Your career, your image, your carefully curated public persona, all of it can pivot on a single interaction. Emma took a breath. She tried to remind herself that this is Hollywood, that people show up where they want to, and that some drama is inevitable. Yet there was something different about this encounter. Something electric. Something that didn't belong to the typical ebb and flow of celebrity events. Meghan was present, but not in the way any of them were used to. She was intentional, focused, and the question everyone in the room would soon be asking, why? The red carpet had been meticulously planned. Press lines were organized, photographers positioned for the perfect angle, and security teams briefed on every celebrity's expected arrival. Nothing prepared them for this. Cameras zoomed in as Meghan navigated through the crowd, brushing past assistants, ignoring the polite nods of those who tried to acknowledge her. There was no casual chatter, no laughter at a quip, no attempt to fade into the background. She was on a mission. And the tension wasn't just felt by Emma. Other attendees, from seasoned actors to first-time nominees, noticed the ripple. You could see it in the way people adjusted their stances, angled their cameras differently, and whispered into earpieces. A subtle undercurrent of unease spread through the crowd. The very fabric of the evening, its order, its predictability, was being threatened. It was almost theatrical in its precision. The way Meghan moved, the reactions she drew, the sudden awareness that this was no ordinary night. Emma tried to steady herself. She had experienced red carpet chaos before, paparazzi mishaps, wardrobe malfunctions, the occasional intrusive fan. But this was different. The stakes felt higher. The tension, palpable. Emma instinctively scanned the scene for security personnel. They were nearby, yet still unaware of the brewing storm. She didn't want to act prematurely, but she knew she had to maintain control. Every second mattered. Every gesture mattered. And then came the subtle signs that confirmed her instincts. Meghan's gaze briefly locked with hers. Not a casual glance, not a polite acknowledgement. It was focused, intentional, a quiet challenge. Emma's heartbeat quickened. She felt that split-second adrenaline spike that precedes confrontation. The one where you know something is about to happen, but you can't predict exactly what. And in that moment, a small crowd had begun to notice. Cameras pivoted instinctively. Reporters instinctively raised microphones, sensing that the story had shifted. The audience watching at home, following live feeds, or scrolling through social media, had no idea of this delicate escalation. They would see only images. Meghan moving purposefully, Emma standing frozen for a heartbeat too long, the subtle tension in body language. They wouldn't know the calculations, the internal dialogue, the silent signals being exchanged. But the cameras were capturing every detail, storing it for instant playback, analysis, and viral dissemination. It wasn't just about who was present. It was about timing. It was about optics. The Golden Awards red carpet was more than just a walkway. It was a stage, a battleground, a social arena where power, influence, and visibility collided. And in that charged environment, Meghan's unexpected presence was a catalyst. It forced every celebrity in the vicinity to reevaluate, reconsider, and recalibrate their positions. Who was ally? Who was opponent? Who could be caught in the crossfire of this subtle yet potent social chess game? Emma, aware that something was about to happen, took a slow step forward, placing herself in a position of subtle authority. Her mind raced. Should she speak, gesture, or wait? Could she defuse this quietly, or did it require direct action? The crowd, sensing the undercurrent, leaned forward. Some whispered to each other. Some snapped photos. And Meghan, moving closer, maintained that perfect balance of composure and intent that had unnerved everyone else. Imagine the silence for a second. Not complete silence, of course. Cameras still clicking, conversations murmuring, but a tension so thick it could almost be cut with a knife. Every eye was drawn toward them. Every mind, whether watching in person or through a lens, was trying to understand the dynamics. Was Meghan here by chance? Was this deliberate? And more importantly, what would Emma do? And then came the small but pivotal action that would ignite the confrontation. Meghan's hand moved in a way that seemed innocent. A gesture, a reach, a subtle positioning. But to Emma, it was unmistakable. She was encroaching. She was crossing an invisible line. Emma's internal alarm bells rang. This wasn't social grace being tested, it was boundaries being challenged. And in that charged moment, everything escalated.